Hello again. I hope you're having an amazing day, and may the 4th be with you. It is May 4th, and I'm getting ready to do another reading for you guys. Reading/explanation. Again, this is as much fun for me as it is hopefully for you. I get to kind of look at the cards a little more closely than when I'm doing a regular reading. Usually when I'm doing a reading for others, I'm focusing a lot on what those meanings are for that particular reading rather than the whole card. So a lot of cards can say different things for different people. It's that reading between the lines and seeing what's going on. So when I'm reading for somebody, I will focus on things that are important to that particular reading. And therefore, I might not spend as much time on the little things that don't mean anything to that particular reading. So to be able to take apart a card and really look at every little component and take that amount of time on it, it's really fun for me. I am obviously still learning with this in the sense of when you get into the tarot, it kind of never ends. There's this rabbit hole that happens. With that said, let's see where we go down the rabbit hole today. All right. Today I drew the card of Temperance. Again, I'll take a nice picture of it and show that off on some social media. It did show up inverted, but again, I focus more in these about what the card means, both inverted and upright. But I just want you guys to know it did come up inverted today. Temperance is one of the higher arcana. I don't think I've talked about any of those yet. I will have to go back and look. The Temperance card it really is about balancing things in your life. It's about getting something that you know is good for you to a point and knowing when to stop, or knowing when something is bad for you and it's time to stop and break those bad habits. So I look at Temperance as the card of balance as much as it is a card of abundance. Because sometimes it's that too much of a good thing. We've all been there, right? The card itself, being of the major arcana, is the 14, which it's in Roman numerals. If you get into tarot, learn your Roman numerals, which is an X and an I and a V. So it's 14. The card that comes before it, at some point we'll talk about that as well. It is a nice card to get if you are in a place where you really want to learn more about what is inside of you. And that's true for most of the major arcana. They're more about how to get deeper into your psyche. And there's this whole big thing about it connects to the hero's journey. It connects to our psychological awareness. It's very interesting how these cards really speak to the human condition as a whole. So whenever I bring up major arcana cards, I really know that this is about their journey, and it's about our connection to our inner selves and our soul. So, or whatever you want to call it. The biggest thing I notice on Temperance is that this person is holding a cup. And again, cups, the suit of cups itself is really about emotion and that internal piece of us. So that always says to me, if there's a cup on the card, this is going to be about the inside of somebody, not about what the outside world is doing. The other thing that is nice about Temperance is it kind of shows several different elements. So you have water on one side and you have the earth and the trees on the other. There are mountains in the background. There's also this interesting thing in the background that I'll get to in just a moment, but I want to talk about the elements. There's also like air bubbles down in the corner. So for people who are really into like that 4 elemental thing, it's trying to show all 4. That's another thing that I notice a lot in the major arcana cards, is that it tries to show as many of the elements as possible, so that in a way it's harkening back to relating to every one of the suits that is in the deck. Because again, there are 4 suits, very similar to our 4 suits of regular playing cards, because again, this is where they came from. And the major arcana are kind of these cards that were removed when we got to our playing card deck. The only one that remained is the Fool. We'll get to that at some point when we draw him. And so they really are meant to represent every single suit in some way. So again, you'll see that there is the Cup, and she's got the little triangle on her chest by her heart, which is also connecting again to that emotion. This is a winged being, which kind of gives us the idea again that this is a higher self. This is our 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 soul or our spirit or our higher self or the universe or our connection to it. However you want to look at that type of entity, or an angel or a god, it's looking from above us. This is a higher entity. It's a connection to that higher place in us. That's the wings in the back. I know it should be air. It feels like air is what the wings represent. Maybe that as well. I won't argue against it. But really what it connects us to is that higher being and that higher self. There's also on her crown chakra, anybody that does chakra stuff, the crown chakra is lit very brightly. So again, that tells me that this is about the higher self. She is pouring from one cup into the other cup that is held here. So she's pouring from kind of this place of higher self into the heart chakra, into the soul. So it's that connection. What that really says, though, for this particular card, to me, when it's saying so clearly temperance, have an awareness. Have an awareness to what information you are getting from the world, what information you're putting out into the world, what you are consuming, being that material or metaphysical. So always have that balance of, I have a very spiritual background, I have a very material world I'm living in. Those two are not against each other, they're connected. They can be very deeply connected. What we do here on this plane does affect what we are going to do in the next plane. What we do in the next plane is going to affect how we affect our world in the material. So those things are in balance. They're always connected. You notice when people are disconnected from their higher self, or are too connected to the higher self and have no connection to the material. You notice it. You might not be able to see it right away, and I don't really want to, like, I don't want to say a way particular people are stereotyped or anything like that, but you can see it when people have lost a connection to higher self, or when people are too involved in that higher self and they get kind of that head floaty thing going on, where their head really is kind of always in the clouds. This is what temperance is about. Keeping your feet grounded. Head can be in the clouds, but there's always an attachment. There's always a connection between the two, and maintaining that is important. I want to point out to that object that is in the sky, which, by the way, the sky is very yellow in this, very bright, very connected to things. And there's a crown in this one just floating in the sky. Like, okay, that's interesting. This crown floating up in the sky is very much to me about our higher selves, and that ideal of who we are. Because again, what we are in this physical realm is kind of a copy of who we are in the metaphysical. So we're still us. We still belong out there. But when we manifest here in the material world, we're kind of this sort of drawing of it. So think about it this way. Those of you who might be artists in any form, in your head, you've got this brilliant idea. And as soon as you try to put it down on paper, it doesn't quite match. That's very much what this crown represents, is the idea that's in your head, the idea that's out there in the metaphysical, the idea that's out there connected truly to the higher realms. So that when it comes down here, it's just kind of a drawing of a crown. It just isn't quite that brilliance that it is in the other worlds. I find it really interesting because in this card, it's on the same alignment as the crown chakra that is lit up on this angel's head. So if you look at it, it's really like, here's the crown chakra outside the body, and here it is inside the body, and it's the connection of both. It's way off in what looks like mountains in this kind of mountain pass, and really it feels like it's in the same place as the sun. So I look at that as like the sun has almost transposed into this angel's head, and now the crown chakra is in the sun. Again, that connection between our inner world and our outer world, the material world and the metaphysical world. All of those things are rolled into one with Temperance. There's a lot of different tiny little components in this too, and I probably will not spend a super amount of time on this because again, we're already spent a lot of time on this card. So one of the small things to note though is that the belt on this angel is a circle. Circles are very important. They are portals, they are continuous, they are forever. So again, it goes back to that continuum of material world, metaphysical world, material world, metaphysical world. Feed them both, connect them both. And that is right down at her root chakra. And I say her, but it could be a male angel. I don't know. They're very androgynous in this deck, and that's what I like about it, because I do feel like most of these, when they don't have a gender specific to them, when they don't have a gender energy of masculine or feminine, I like that they're a little bit androgynous. But it's right near the root chakra. The root chakra, again, is our core. It puts us, it connects us to the earth, it connects us to the grounding spirit of things. So having that as a portal or an infinity sort of symbol is really nice. Also, the way the belt fits on this angel is it comes together, and then there's like this tail that roots down directly into the earth, and you don't see the end of it. It just keeps going. It goes right off the edge of the drawing. So to me, that is again another really great way to show connection, because you have on the lower half of this angel, she's holding the cup with one hand. That cup is just about touching that little circle that is her root chakra, and the root chakra is definitely connected to the earth, definitely connected to the mortal realm. Whereas from the top, there's this little light that's at the top edge of the cup that she's pouring from, and that too connects us to the crown chakra, and that light that is connecting us to the metaphysical realm. It's all about connection. This card is very much about that connecting to metaphysical and material, and making them work together, and knowing when the balance is out of whack and when you want to hold back on some of those maybe material things that can be considered vices, some of those material things that again may be too much of a good thing, or same way the metaphysical stuff. You get too deeply involved in that, you tend to kind of lose sight of the material world. And for some people, it's a nice little vacation to just meditate and spend a lot of time in religion and spend a lot of time in that very spiritual world. There are things we have been put here to do in the physical as well, in the material world. Learn those lessons, do those things. I haven't talked about it much in these videos yet, but I wanted to mention that yes, in a bit of a shameless sales pitch, my latest book is called Cloud to Cloud, and it is about the connection between the physical and the metaphysical in the realms. So if it's okay with you, I probably will mention the book at the end of every single one of these little things. You're welcome to skip past it. I just figured it's kind of interesting that this card came up, and I haven't really said, hey, by the way, I just finished a book that's really super connected to this kind of stuff. So again, I'll see you guys next time. I hope this is helpful to you. I hope this allows you to kind of take a look at the cards a little bit differently. And I'll see you next time.